Was it in
Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. I appreciate everybody being here. This is a really exciting day for me as the new county executive, talking about really the reimagining and the new direction for our economic development strategy. All organizations have to learn to adapt and evolve. And today we're going to take our first steps in evolving our economic development strategy for Chautauqua County. Today I'm really proud to start off by explaining two new positions that we are creating. It's really the rebranding of existing positions, but putting new focus and really a new emphasis on economic development. The previous roles that have been held in the past is the Director of Planning and Economic Development, which is also the head of the IDA in the role of the Chief Administrative Officer of the IDA. Today we're going to be changing that role, and the person who will be heading that up will be now the Deputy County Executive for Economic Development, and also will head up and be the Chief Administrative Officer of the IDA. But I want people to understand, whether it's businesses looking to locate in Chautauqua County, the businesses that are here in Chautauqua County, the taxpayers, the voters, everyone here in Chautauqua County, to understand that my administration is laser focused on economic development. Therefore, the Deputy County Executive for Economic Development carries the weight of this office with them wherever they go. And I'm proud to announce that my choice for the Deputy County Executive for Economic Development is Mark Geise. And Mark will have a chance to come up here and address you all, but I think Mark fits exactly the mold I was looking for in order for us to fit into this new strategy that we have here. Really, Mark certainly has great experience here in Chautauqua County. Those of you that know Mark know that he spent a lot of time here, both in the private sector and the public sector, and has spent the last 18 months or so in Monroe County, which is really one of the premier IDAs in New York State, in upstate New York. So I really appreciate the fact that he has experience, drive, and knowledge for our new direction here in Chautauqua County. In addition to that, we have Don McCord, who has been a 20-year veteran here in Chautauqua County, and he will now be elevated to the role of the Director of Planning and Community Development. Both positions will report directly to the county executive. I think it's incredibly important for the priorities of our planning department, the long-term strategy here in our county when it comes to how our county will look and feel and be represented to the people of the rest of the world, really. It's important that planning has a direct role and direct contact with my office and with the county legislature. Therefore, Don McCord's new position will be a direct report and a director who will be charged with fully engaging our community when it comes to how Chautauqua County will look and feel going into the future. I want to really take the time now to have Mark speak for himself, and then Don will speak, and then a few others. But I think what I want people to understand before they speak is this. Here in Chautauqua County, we have had some successes and we've had some challenges. But ultimately, we have to get everyone involved. We have to start treating ourselves as one community here in Chautauqua County. We have far too many layers and far too many silos and far too many divisions to be successful. And you know what? When it comes to economic development, we have to send a singular voice. We have to have a strong message for the people that are looking at Chautauqua County. That's why part of our rebranding and part of our realignment of resources over the next few months will include creating an economic development alliance throughout our county. This will be an alliance of all the stakeholders within Chautauqua County that are working on economic development. Private sector, public, businesses, our municipalities, all the various entities that are independently and individually working on economic development will come together in one group so we can send one consistent, strong message and utilize our resources in the most efficient manner possible. Along with this Economic Development Alliance, we will have also an Economic Development Advisory Council, which will be basically the organization that will help me set our economic development policy and strategy, and we'll work with our Economic Development Alliance to then implement that strategy. This is incredibly important. And ladies and gentlemen, we are not reinventing the wheel here. This is something that I have been studying along with Don McCord and others, and we've looked at other counties like Dutchess County, Erie County, and others. We've met with people from other counties, we've visited other counties, and we're looking to basically learn from the successes of other areas. And this economic Economic Development Alliance is a successful model in many other counties, including Dutchess County, including Erie County, and others, and I am truly looking forward to having the opportunity to have everyone working together so that we can truly elevate Chautauqua County to the next level, especially when it comes to economic development. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mark Geise, the new Deputy County Executive for Economic Development.
Well, first of all, I'm thrilled to be back in Chautauqua County working with George and working with all of you. As you know, I was here for many years, and I'm thrilled to be working as the new Deputy County Executive for Economic Development and realizing County Executive Borrello's vision for the county. For the past 18 months, I've been in Monroe County, managing their industrial development agency there, and also their industrial development corporation. So we did a lot of loans, a lot of projects, and it's been very successful there. So I'm excited to say I'm going to, I bring that knowledge back, and hopefully we can implement some of those ideas that I learned there here. And I do think it's really critical that we rethink how we do economic development here. We can't be status quo. We need to really dig deep here and work together as a team, and align our resources appropriately so that we create a strategy it's innovative and is transparent, and it's aggressive, proactive, all of those things. I think, as George said, that this signifies that he means business here, and economic development is his top priority, and I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that vision comes true. I wanted to do a shout out to Rich Dickson for being stabilizing presence in the IDA for 12 years or more, maybe, and he's just always kept the ship afloat and kept things aggressive and kept doing projects. So thank you, Rich. I look forward to working with you, and also Mike Metzger. You've done a great job there for so many years. Thank you as well. I said that. I wanted to say this too. We have a lot of good things going on here, and we want to keep that momentum going. And we also have a lot of assets here, and I think employing this asset-based approach to economic development is how do we capitalize on those assets? How do we package them? First of all, identify them, and then package them, and market those to the outside, so that because there's people out there that want what we have, and we need to deliver that message to them, that this is what we have and we want you here. So I'm all in. I believe in this county. I believe in County Executive Borrello. I've been here for 25 years. I raised my kids here. I love this community. So, Katie, did I say too much? Should I stop now? Okay, I'm good. Am I good? Okay, well, thank you very much, and thanks again, George. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark. I'm really excited to have you aboard. Also, I'd like to introduce a man who I've spent a lot of time with in the last few months as we've gone on our economic development road trip to other counties, and to really spend some time thinking about how we can rebrand and rethink our economic development. And the gentleman who will now be assuming the role of the Director of Planning and Community Development, Don McCord.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited to have this opportunity to be a part of this. It not only fulfills a vision that we have long been looking at and planning in regards to perhaps economic development and how we can do better in Chautauqua County, but it also fulfills a vision that we have in the county planning department of how we interact and support our communities. We've often thought that we are only as strong as our weakest link. And so therefore, we need to support every small community. I think you've seen that through George Borrello under his previous efforts as a legislature and through his consolidation efforts. One of the things that George and I have been looking at is organizational structure of other counties and other economic development apparatuses. And the question is, what truly separates an excellent organization from an ordinary organization? And that has been part of our discussions as we've traveled around the state and explored this particular point of interest to us. And one of the things that I really think helps organizations that are great and often reinvent themselves is the existence of a change agent. And that's a person that really has that skill set during a difficult time to bring us all forward during change from where we were to something new, which is where we're going. And I honestly believe that we have in our leadership today George Borrello, who in my assessment, after spending a lot of time with him over the past few months, truly is a change agent, so that we should really be glad as a county that we have him in our leadership position. For me, George has acted as a facilitator, and I've always felt from day one that I was a large part of his team, and that has been very important. Especially when I was framing quite often a vision that I might have about an idea that was often more of a puzzle than a vision with complete answers. So, it's great to be part of a team where you're working through those things and trying to figure out how to make Chautauqua County what it can be. Our government needs leaders like this. They need men and women with large expectations and small egos. They need men and women who ask big questions but rise above the small answers. They need men and women who seek to see the good and inspire great. And I really have looked forward to kind of being a part of that team that's taking that motto forward as we look at economic development in Chautauqua County. I'm thankful to be part of the team. I'm thankful to have a group of employees that surround me every day in the IDA and in the planning department that inspire me personally to go forward and do things for the county of Chautauqua. I also look forward to working with Mark Geise. Mark and I were team players before. We've got a lot of experience with each other, and we've always complemented each other's strengths. So I really think going forward, Mark and I can do great things. And I'm just going to conclude because my remarks will not be long today. But I do like to always provide a quote. And I enjoy Vince Lombardi. And Vince Lombardi said, "The only place where success comes before work is in the dictionary." So we're ready and anxious to get to work and anxious to make Chautauqua County what we all hope it can be. Thanks.
So, I spent 8 years as a county legislator, and all that time I was on the Planning and Economic Development Committee. So this has always been near and dear to my heart. Also, 4 of those years I spent as the chairman of that committee, which also afforded me a seat on the Industrial Development Agency Board of Directors. And today here we have the chairman of the Board of Directors, Mike Metzger, a guy that I worked with very closely and appreciate all the hard work that he has done in providing the guidance and direction that the Industrial Development Agency has needed. And Mike, I'd love you to come up and have a few words, if you don't mind, to talk about our future here. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yes. Mark, nice to see you. Thank you. I just want to personally congratulate both Don and Mark and on their new positions. And George has been, as he said, he's been instrumental on the board of the IDA for many years. So working with him and seeing his visions and looking to bring them to a reality is going to be tremendous. Mark, worked with him before. He had many great accomplishments, but one of them that really comes to mind was the land bank. And without Mark and his foresight and stick-to-itiveness, he actually wrote the grant and it became a reality. So without him, we would not have the land bank, which has been hugely successful in Chautauqua County. So I want to thank him, look forward to working with him, and we're going to have a great future. So thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay. And, last but not least, I'd like to ask Rich Dickson to come up and speak. Rich has been the CFO of the IDA. He is the interim director right now, and he's been someone who's I've talked to him at 6 o'clock in the morning. I've talked to him at 11 o'clock at night. I've shot him a text message saying, "What do you think about this?" You've truly been a great help, and over the years, I've enjoyed working with you, and I look forward to our new direction. And if you could just spend a few minutes too, I'd appreciate that.
And as you know me, George, I will be brief. Thank you. What an exciting day here in Chautauqua County. When George told me Mark was coming back, I called him and said, "Mark, we're getting the band back together again." So it's a great day here. Mark, as the Deputy County Executive for Economic Development, it's very exciting. Congratulations, Don, in your new role. Very exciting. Mark had served. I was there when Mark came. I saw some of the things did. As Mike commented on the land bank, it went from a dream to reality. And a lot of you people in this room who were involved with the land bank know how much work that was and how much work that continues to be, but what a great thing. Mark was also responsible for getting the 2020 Chautauqua County Comprehensive Plan done with his team, a team effort. That's an award-winning plan that won a lot of awards around the state. We have 25 miles of horse trails in Chautauqua County that Mark and his team did, and as Mark said, that was a pain, but we have those trails. The Greenway Plan was created during Mark's tenure there, and they're implementing the Barcelona to Chautauqua Lake portion of that now, along with some others. And when George made this announcement to the staff at the IDA and Planning Department were ecstatic that Mark was coming back. So I look forward to working with Mark and Don and the county executive and the entire team on implementing your vision, George. And again, a shout out to Mike Metzgers and our board of directors who don't always get the best press in the paper, but they do what's best for the county, they do what's best for the people that live here, and they help make Chautauqua County a great place to live, work, and play. So thank you all.
With that, I'd like to now just open it up to any questions anyone might have. So we
George,
can, yes.
Could you talk a little bit about why you see a change, the need for a change in the structure of economic development in the county?
Sure. There's a number of different things. First and foremost, as I said when I started, every organization has to adapt and evolve in order to survive. I don't care what business you're in. You can look throughout the history. My business that I was in for 27 years, which was a very successful business, really started as one thing, and when I retired last year was a very different company. Still focused on the same industry, still focused on the same strategy, but a very different set of products, a very different set of strategies, and certainly a very different set of ways to market ourselves and promote ourselves. And that's kind of what this is about as well. We need to evolve and adapt to a changing society. I go back to the fact that here in Chautauqua County, we have a lot of layers of government. We have a lot of organizations that are working on economic development. Everyone has good intentions, but if we're not all working together and we're not maximizing our resources, we're not going to get, as Don McCord said before, we're going to hit a lot of singles and doubles, but we're not going to hit any home runs unless we're all working together. So that's really what the focus is. The focus is on reorganizing, rebranding, and reimagining economic development so we can hit those home runs.
What kind of an impact will this restructuring have on the IDA and the way it currently, will it shift its focus, or will its focus remain the same on what it's doing?
That's a good question. I think what we're finding out as we travel around the county is that the IDA plays an incredibly important role, and that is to provide the tools for economic development, the things that we have in our toolbox that level the playing field with other areas. Because let's face it, New York State is still a very difficult place to do business. The tools that the IDA has are our opportunity to level the playing field, especially with nearby states like Pennsylvania and Ohio. So that is the focus and should be the focus and will remain the focus of the IDA. What we've done in the past, and I think even not intentionally, is we've looked at the IDA as the economic development strategy arm of county government, and it's not. it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's providing incentives. It's working with companies on specific projects and bringing them to fruition. It's working with companies that need assistance and trying to bring those those projects around. But they are not supposed to be in the position of providing a long-term strategy for the county. So the role is only going to change in the sense of what people's perception of the IDA is. We are in turn creating and adapting our infrastructure within the county so that we do have the right people in the right positions focused on our long-term economic development strategy.
George, I'm sorry, go ahead. No, you got a follow-up?
I was just going to follow up. What has to happen now as far as the county legislature? Do these appointments have to go?
Yeah, lots of paperwork is what's got to happen right now. So, like anything else in government, lots and lots of paperwork. So really, we have several resolutions we have to introduce. We're going to be shifting a lot of things around. I think it's also important to point out that this is going to have a net zero impact on the budget. There's not going to be any additional funds being allocated within the county budget to do these things, because really what we've done is we've shifted things. We've rebranded those positions. But even with that, when you move pots of money from one pot to another, you have to do a lot of paperwork. So there will be resolutions introduced. In fact, I think it's important for me to add that everything that I'm discussing when it comes to this position is still subject to legislative approval. I've spoken with our legislators, many of them, many of the committee heads, to talk to them about that. We presented at the legislature meetings this month and explained to them what's going on. So, I'm confident that, other than a few, changes that have to be made in the paperwork, from the concept standpoint, I feel like the legislature is very much on board with these changes and are very enthusiastic about this. So we will submit those changes, and those will take place over the next couple months from start to finish. And hopefully by then, and Mark will be starting March 5th. He's basically coming under the current structure technically, but those changes will be made over the next couple months as we move through the process with the legislature, and then on forward from there. So. Any other questions?
Yeah, my question is, from a regional standpoint, you talk about working with or meeting with people from like Erie County. As you look across Western New York and Erie County and Niagara County and seeing what's happening now with Dresser Rand in Cattaraugus and Allegheny County, rather, what is the focus to try to get everybody on board and talk about ways to share resources or solutions and maybe get some of those people who are out of a job, entice them here? What kind of strategy is going on there?
Well, first of all, let me say this. I've been, as many of you know, I've been on this crusade to visit 100 businesses in 100 days, and it's going well. And Dan, we're into what, 60-something, 63, 64 so far of the 100. And there's this perception that here in Chautauqua County, especially, that businesses are leaving and they're laying people off and doors are closing, and certainly we do have some of that. But what I found is that there are businesses, there are jobs out there. The businesses that we've visited, every single one of them so far is doing well. They actually have, in most cases, more business than they can handle. So this is about taking people that may have been displaced and making sure that we're working with all of our assets, the Workforce Investment Board, all the other assets that we have, to make sure that those people are retrained or trained and brought into these positions. It's about working with our institutions of higher education and our high schools to make sure that we're able to get people into those roles, because there is a severe shortage of skilled labor. So we need to work regionally on that effort also, because we are very close to these major cities like Buffalo, even Erie, Pennsylvania. So we have a tremendous amount of resources to draw from a regional standpoint. But that has to start first here within Chautauqua County. We can't start talking about spreading our region even larger when we can't get everybody within our county all on the same page. That's why it's critically important for me to develop this Economic Development Alliance and to make sure that the many, many layers of government that we have in Chautauqua County are all working together in concert with our private sector, in concert with our not-for-profit organizations and our foundations, and all those people that are working together to maximize those resources. So step one is to work together to utilize those resources in an efficient manner, with getting everybody at the table all focused on the same goals.
Thank you.
Yeah.
George, we got another alliance that was just recently formed, the Chautauqua Lake and Watershed Management Alliance, and that has its own executive director, and it seems like it's been a success in terms of focusing on not only going out and applying for funds across the country and applying them where they're needed for Chautauqua Lake. Is that what you envision is going to happen with this alliance here? And if so, who's the point person that's going to help make sure that all of those interests are going to be represented when this alliance gets together and meets?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, right now we're still working on all the details, but essentially Mark will head that up with Don's assistance as well. In addition to that, they will also both be facilitating conversation and collaboration with the Alliance and the Advisory Council. So that'll be headed up by the folks at the county level, the two gentlemen here, myself, and others will be working on that. But yes, the idea is to create, in my opinion, we have to create bigger projects and a greater need in order to attract more funding, more attention, and also to attract the attention of the businesses that we want to grow and bring here to Chautauqua County. So absolutely, that is a successful model, like I mentioned, and certainly having an alliance is the best way to do that.
George,
Yes.
I know you talked about workforce development, and that's been a hot button issue here lately. Back during the campaign, I remember that job and business locations also came up as issues, and having ready sites for them.
Mm-hmm.
How do these changes address that?
Well, and again, that goes back to focusing our resources. When you start talking about creating shovel-ready sites, first of all, you can have 100 shovel-ready sites, but if we don't have a ready workforce, it doesn't really matter. If you look at, there's a magazine, it's a site development trade magazine, and every year they poll CEOs throughout the country and ask them what is the number one concern for you when you're looking to develop a new site. Bring a new company to a new location, and the number one concern is workforce and workforce readiness. So we have to start focusing on that first. The number one thing that we need to do is to provide a ready workforce, and I want to support the businesses that are here in Chautauqua County now first. Okay, I know that there's this perception, and this is the rhetoric in the campaign, is, your job is to go there and you got to go to Kentucky or Italy or California and find a company and drag them back here, and they have to have 500 jobs. We don't have the people right now to supply those, that workforce. I want to help the businesses that are here in Chautauqua County that are working hard every day and being successful, who have positions open. I want to help those people first before we start spending resources and time and money on the if come. You might be able to create some new jobs if we throw a bunch of money at you. That's not an efficient, effective way to do things. We're going to focus on the businesses that are here first, and then we can talk about shovel-ready sites.
One other question is just the search process that you had regarding not only selecting Mark and of course making the transition with these roles, but how many different individuals did you vet or did you look at before finally settling on your choice?
It was kind of a pyramid of, starting with looking at resumes and talking to people, and then getting down to actual a number of people that we actually sat down with face to face. I don't want to give up the exact number, but it was more than one, so I'll tell you that. But and I will say this also: I had this vision in my head of who the right person for this would be, and not a particular person, but what do I want? What are those skills? What are those qualities? And what I needed was someone that could complement me and also be able to carry out the mission. Ultimately, I believe that I can be directly involved in speaking with, whether it's businesses here, businesses that are coming here, the many organizations within our county that are focused on economic development. I certainly want to be involved in those conversations. What I need is a competent, capable team of people that I can hand that off to afterwards to get those things across the finish line. And I think that Mark fits that role perfectly, as well as Don. And I think, as they both mentioned, they complement each other. So the number of people is certainly a factor, but at the end of the day, I think Mark was the right choice even from day one. Any other questions? No? I want to thank you all for being here. The future is bright in Chautauqua County. We will all work together, and as I've said many times before, we will elevate Chautauqua County. Thank you very much.
Can I get a photo of the three of you? If you want to get Mike involved, too, that'd be great.
Want to stand back here? Thanks. I tried to stall for a while. Sorry.
That's fine. I'll grab you here.
Yeah, that'd be great. Absolutely.
How do you want to do this?
Yeah, it's how about you guys stand on either side of me? How does that sound? Yeah. Is that good?
But she's down to one section of food.
Yeah, some of them seem like. So most of it.
I dressed down just.